It's July 18th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR today. We have a lot to get into, so let's just dive on in. As soon as I let you know that this is not financial advice, but please do hit that like button. We are delivering this content to you every single day. Michael Saylor wants us to know that for the past 5 years, the only thing better than Bitcoin is more Bitcoin. And look at the Bitcoin standard error return. I mean, the BSE 3,588% for MSTR. Bitcoin's at 900%. That's amazing. Everything else is so far behind, they barely even make a blip. So, what's better than Bitcoin, which is, by the way, amazing, and I own it? I think everybody should own it. 900%. Well, how about more Bitcoin? How about intelligently leveraged Bitcoin? And that's MSTR, 3,588%. The Bitcoin archive says breaking Bitcoin ETFs bought $5 billion of Bitcoin over the last 10 trading days. Institutional demand is heating up. And look what's been going on in July as we move forward every single day. It's just heating up. The inflows are coming in. Institutions have arrived. Retail is pouring in. Life is good. Ragnar's post says that there are currently 154 publicly listed companies with Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Until the year end, I predict 500, and within 12 months, I predict 1,000. Here's Volcon, who wants to raise 500 million with a private placement now and 1 billion through ATM later. Bitcoin treasuries are on fire. I love that phrase, on fire, for reasons some of you probably know. NL Nico did this post about Volcon announcing a $500 million private placement to start a Bitcoin treasury strategy. And this is becoming so commonplace. Some of these aren't even making the news anymore. It's becoming so common. And guess who wins? Everybody in the Bitcoin treasury space wins when this happens. Ben Workman had his mind blown. There were 72,000 people on the last MSTR True North. It's just incredible how this community has grown. I mean, I see it with all of you, the support that you give with your comments, with your likes, with your shares, watching every single day. Thank you for that. Ben is grateful. I'm grateful. And he says, the support we've received for True North never ceases to amaze me. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us every Wednesday evening, super late at that. It's been absolute blast already, and this journey is just getting started. Crazy, exciting times. Chris says, MSTR is for the visionaries. You're a visionary. I'm a visionary. Michael Saylor is definitely the visionary. Wow. Love being a part of this ride. Documenting Saylor says the distribution of 21 million Bitcoin. I thought this was really interesting. I wanted to share it. Bitcoin's distribution of 21 million tokens. You have 57% are owned by individuals, which is great. That's, makes it very distributed. 17.6% lost. Again, these are somewhat estimates, but that's a pretty good estimate, I think, from Arkham and others. 3.4% are from miners, like Mara and others. Satoshi owns over 5%, which is incredible. 6% is not mined. Governments own 2.7. ETFs own 3.9. And then the Bitcoin treasury companies in general, they own 3.6%. And guess what? Of this, Strategy owns 3%. So others is 6%. I think you might be able to see my post here. Oh, yeah, I wrote it right here. 3% Strategy, 0.6% others. Because Strategy is the dominant piece of this sliced pie right here. Incredible times. This distribution I thought was really interesting. We'll see how it grows over time. This is going to expand massively companies. This is going to expand massively ETFs. This is going to expand governments. This is going to shrink, obviously, because it's going to get mined. This is going to stay the same. This is probably going to increase slowly. I don't think miners are going to be quite on board with as quite as effective, I should say, as the Bitcoin treasury companies at getting market share. The Bitcoin loss, this is probably going to increase slightly as people just lose more Bitcoin over time, just through human error. And then, unfortunately, something's got to give. And of course, the not yet mined is going to give, but also the individuals are going to give, because it's sad but true. Everybody has a price, and individuals are going to sell at certain prices. Maybe it's 200, maybe it's 250, maybe it's 500,000 per Bitcoin, maybe it's a million per Bitcoin. People are waiting for a number to at least not necessarily completely get out, but just to start taking some off the table for lifestyle choices. So in my opinion, you'll keep seeing this percentage shrink down to 55 to 50 to 45 as these other ones that I mentioned start to or continue to increase. Documenting Saylor says, Michael Saylor says Bitcoin will become the world's largest asset within the next 48 months. He knows something. And if that happens, this will be what the chart looks like. So Michael Saylor, I hope you do know something because I'm along for the ride. Jeff wants us to opt out of paper money, opt into digital money, which is Bitcoin, or else your precious energy gets devalued fast. And this is just like on a post from JJ Watt, who's like, one of the top defensive players in the NFL for a long, long time. His career earnings was 129 million just because of when he played. Now his younger brother, who I don't really honestly keep up with the NFL that well, so I don't know. He's probably really good. He's probably not as good as JJ if I'm guessing, but just his 3-year extension is $123 million. So even though he's possibly not as good as JJ, just because of when, timing. And that's why it's so key to get in. So it's just like, get into Bitcoin. Timing, in this case, the earlier, the better for all the obvious reasons. Now I have some unbelievable video clips of Michael Saylor coming up, so sit back and enjoy.
Volatility was a gift to the faithful. It scares away the tourist. It scares away the lazy. It scares away the people that are already conventionally rich, that have all the money. If you're a 20-something or a 30-something and you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to spend 100 hours or 200 hours, if you have more time than money, then the volatility of Bitcoin is a gift to you. If you have more money than time and you're arrogant and egotistical and you just pick the obvious, then if the volatility goes away, you buy Bitcoin. If people in the rest of the world knew what I know and they understood and they agreed with me, Bitcoin would go to $10 million tomorrow. And if Bitcoin went to $10 million tomorrow, I want you to think about how you would feel and how your viewers would feel, because you would lose 20 years of stacking opportunity during which you get to buy at less than $10 million. So the difference between $10 million and 100,000, that's what you give up if the volatility goes away and people start to agree with you. It was a $90 billion asset class in March of 2000 when I was first looking at it. And then by August, it was about a $180 billion asset class. And right now, 4 years later, it's $1.8 trillion asset class. And I think it's going to 18 trillion, then 180 trillion, then it's going to go beyond that. So I think it's a very simple thing. I think Bitcoin is going to grow from 0.1% of the money in the world to 7% of the money in the world over the next 21 years. And of course, you should just go long and keep buying it.
0.1% to, you said 7%?
Yeah, it'll go from like 1.8 trillion to $240 trillion. And it'll go up 29% a year, ARR. That is my base case.
And I've heard you say that in 21 years, it's going to be at $13 million.
That takes you to 13 million a coin.
13 million a coin.
13 million a coin.
At 29%.
Every Bitcoin you don't buy is going to cost you $13 million, my friend.
Every Bitcoin. Hard. So let me ask this question.
Your Ford Bitcoin Ferrari is going to be a...
When it comes to my assets, diversification is key. I don't want to be over leveraged in any one thing. I mean, yes, I own MSTR and it makes up a large part of my portfolio, but I also own Bitcoin and always will. And now, thanks to my new sponsor, BitIRA, you can own Bitcoin in a tax-sheltered retirement account. BitIRA has been around for almost 10 years. As one of the trailblazers in alternative IRAs for crypto, they have built the world's most secure digital IRA. Here's why you'll love them. End-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and registered with the US government. and it's fully IRS compliant. If you have a 401k from an old employer or an IRA gathering dust and you'd rather have that retirement account converted to an IRA in Bitcoin, BitIRA will help you convert it free of taxes or penalties. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without taxes incurred on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Again, that's bitira.com/JLD to open a tax sheltered IRA in Bitcoin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for
Number one priority is make sure the operating business generates cash and doesn't burn cash.
You were appointed to, I want to start off with the first question. If you were appointed to Director of Bitcoin Strategy at Saylor Scientific, what would your top priorities be?
I think number one priority is make sure the operating business generates cash and doesn't burn cash. Because if people think the operating business is a liability, then they won't focus on the Bitcoin strategy at all. So make sure that you have the operating business under control. Then I'd make sure I have a very clear communication of what the operating business looks like for the next 3 years. Because equity investors need to understand how much cash flow from the operating business is going to flow into Bitcoin. So when I look at the Bitcoin strategy, then, right, you've got a certain amount of Bitcoin. You're going to generate Bitcoin yield via sweeping operating cash flows. Then you're going to generate Bitcoin yield via selling equity to buy Bitcoin and issuing equity. And then the third way you're going to generate Bitcoin yield is by issuing Bitcoin-backed credit instruments. So if you're the head of Bitcoin strategy, right, the question that every equity investor has for you is, how much yield do you expect to generate from operating cash flows? Under what circumstances will you sell the equity? Are you going to sell the equity at MNAV of 2 or better, 3 or better, 1.5 or better? Will you sell the equity at MNAV of 1 or better? Right. So giving some kind of clear guidance or setting expectations about how you're going to issue equity is important. And then the third issue is, so what's your credit strategy? Do you have one? Are you going to issue convertible bonds? Are you going to issue convertible preferred stock? Are you going to issue fixed preferred stock? So I would have a plan and be able to communicate the plan. And then I would start to execute on the plan.
I like that a lot. Do you think that Saylor and other Bitcoin treasury companies should copy the structure of your preferred securities? Should they get creative and come up with their own preferred securities? How do you envision that playing out for other Bitcoin treasury companies?
I think if you're a Bitcoin treasury company, you should issue preferred securities. I would probably skip all other forms of leverage. I don't think you should issue senior debt, junk bond debt, convertible debt. I wouldn't do asset-backed borrowing. I wouldn't pledge my Bitcoin for a loan. So most of those other forms of leverage I would skip unless you had a really good reason. What's the second best? There is no second best.